Well, it's Sunday, which means it's time for another featured creature. New this morning, photojournalist Dakota Castile takes us to the Tennessee Aquarium and introduces us to the only native trout species of Tennessee.
On this week's featured creature, we're checking out a sensitive freshwater fish that's typically used as an indicator species for its environment.
The southern Appalachian brook trout are one of 3 trout species we have in our Cove Forest exhibit in River Journey. They're the only native trout species we have in Tennessee. The other species we have are rainbow and brown trout, but they were introduced for sport. Out of the 3 species, they're the smaller of the species. In the wild, typically get to be about 7 or 8 inches.
Besides brook trout being the only native species of Tennessee, what are some other things that set them apart?
They do exhibit a lot of bright coloration in breeding season. What's interesting about them is they're actually fall spawners, which is weird. Most of the native fish around here usually spawn in the spring or summer. So the females was thought to be a little bit bigger. They're full of eggs, and the males will be brightly colored and more territorial. They're distinguished also by their red and gold coloration on their bellies. They've got bright red fins with little white marks on them.
What kind of environment can they be found in?
In the wild, their preference is for really cool, well-shaded, high elevation streams. Water temperature is very important to them. They don't like water temperature really above 60 degrees.
Would it be safe to say that these fish could be considered indicator species that let people know whether the environment is doing good or bad?
Yeah, that's correct. They're found in very excellent water quality, so anywhere you find them, you know that the stream is really good quality, really well shaded. The land around the stream is probably really well managed. They're not very tolerant of siltation. Things they like to eat, like insects and aquatic insects, don't tolerate siltation very well, so it affects their food as well.
Are they at all endangered, and what are some of the reasons that people should care about a fish like this?
They're not endangered, but they're certainly under threat in their native range. Southern Appalachian brook trout are a really interesting part of East Tennessee's natural heritage. They're just a really interesting fish in general. It's important that we restore them not just for their natural beauty, but also they're a great recreational opportunity. They're a really interesting challenge for anglers or for anyone who just likes to sit by the edge of a stream and enjoy nature.
Although these fish are not endangered, several conservation groups, including the Tennessee Aquarium, are breeding these fish and releasing the young back into the wild. For this week's featured creature, I'm Dakota Castile.
And to see this featured creature again or any others, you can just head to our website, newschannel9.com, under the feature section.